Joe, Florida hires yet another coordinator on defense, this one being Robert Bala. Bala being on the 23 Alabama staff at linebacker, was at Washington this past year. I think that this is interesting because I want to take this in two directions. Just how good can Florida be kind of in some aspects going into the 2025 season, the way that they finished the year, and with guys like DJ Lagway. But now you have three coordinators, or just outright. Now, I do think that Ron Roberts, for what it's worth, who did last year, will continue to be the head honcho and head man there, clearly. I don't know if this is just titles or what it is, but you do hire a new, quote-unquote, co-coordinator. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in Florida. But now that you bring in another co-coordinator, I guess, in Robert Bala, your thoughts on this?
I mean, this is stupid. What am I missing? Seriously, like, what am I? Three coordinators. You have three guys that are labeled coordinators. And I'm smart enough to understand that it doesn't mean all three guys are having say in the play calling. They're not going to be every single snap. No, we need to do this. No, we need to do that. No, we need to do this. And there's three guys weighing in. I know that there's going to be some sort of executive say. There's going to be one guy who is the defensive play caller. But why do you need three? Well, why are we doing this? I brought this up in the open. Billy Napier's biggest problem has been disorganization, being extremely disorganized. As simple as the issues with special teams, running dudes out there that are wearing the same number and getting flagged for that. When you have this level of redundancy, it creates problems. I'm not going to sit here and claim that this is going to completely tank them. I'm not going to sit here and act like having three DCs, co-DCs is like such a huge detriment. But it just doesn't make any sense to me. They could go on to be fine, and I actually have high hopes for this Florida team because I really like DJ Lagway, and I think he's going to be phenomenal this year. I think that this Florida team is potentially another 8-win team this upcoming season. But why the hell do you need three DCs? That's where I'm just so perplexed, and I think you agree with me.
Oh, I 1,000% agree with you. But here's the thing that I want to throw out there just to kind of make it well known. I look at what Ron Roberts, the DC, did at Southeastern when he was a head coach. He had multiple coordinators. He had multiple co-coordinators. You'll know some of them. You ready? P. Golding, co-DC. Carl Scott, co-DC. You know where Carl Scott is now. So, I mean, when I look at these situations, he's with the Seattle Seahawks, just for people that don't know, he's the DB's coach. But I've seen Ron Roberts, as someone that I know, do this. I think it's titles, if I'm being honest. Now, there is an outright defensive coordinator. There are other co-coordinators under it. Ron's technical title is defensive head coach and defensive coordinator, whatever that means. I mean, the labeling on this is dumb. He's the head man. I feel like this is a title. Here's the problem that I have with Florida, especially defensively. I don't think it's going to work. I know you got some skill and you have some players. I also see dysfunction. There are a lot of people in the locker room that liked Austin. A lot. A lot of people that he recruited. And I feel like in an indirect way, you pushed him out for a guy that was your mentor or a guy that you've been around. At ULL, Billy Napier's DC was Ron Roberts. So I think that Ron has a very big say in a lot of these things for when it comes to how the defensive side of things are run. I get that. I think that's all good and dandy. There's got to be one voice. And that's more of the problem that I have here is that you're leaning on a guy who, quite frankly, who has a track record of things being a little interesting. I mean, look, you've done this at Florida. You've done this at Baylor. You tried to do it at Auburn before you got canned. I say canned. He moved on, but pushed away. I think there needs to be one voice. In reference to Florida, though, I'll say this. I'm really high on them. I say really high on them. I'm very intrigued by them. I think that the way they finished the season, the pieces that they're bringing back, the pieces that they're bringing in, Joe, Florida's going to be a tough out for a lot of teams.
Yeah,
I thought defensively at the end of the season they got better, especially along their defensive line. They have pieces. It's going to be interesting to see how some of the chaos surrounding them, if it can get cleaned up. Joe, if they improve, they're a 9-3 football team. Think about that for just a moment now. If we're talking about improvement, we're talking about a second year with DJ Lagway. The improvement for them is 9 wins. So I look at them and say, is it achievable? I see what you're doing. I see the vision. I just wonder how achievable it can be. You gave a face when I said 9 wins, but it's
well, you understand why I'm giving a face.
No, I'm with you. But think about this. Like if I said a team, if a team had 8 wins, what's improvement?
No. I'm not giving you a face because of the wording that
you just don't think they can do it.
I just knowing that their schedule this upcoming year is equally as difficult as last year.
Oh, brutal.
I think it's accomplishable for them to replicate what they did because this roster's still not like fully there.
No, it's not.
And also, as you mentioned,
offensively, though, Joe, I don't know, though.
As you mentioned, though, this team does have a lot of positive signs, and they've got a lot of guys that they can turn to that are going to be super productive, that they're going to have big years. I just get really confused by this redundancy. And I know some Florida fans going to hop in the comments like, well, actually, this head coach had 3 defensive coordinators, and you should know that means that they're going to win a national championship. That's a bunch of bullshit. That's a whole bunch of crap to make yourself feel good about a move like this. It's odd. It's not normal. This is not a normal thing to do. It could end up working fine, and I know that there is a central voice, and Ron Roberts is the central voice. I just don't understand why we need to have – if you have to go with 3 co-DCs, a head DC and 2 co-DCs is basically how this is. Why don't you just have 1 defensive coordinator, and these are position coaches? Like, why do they need to be labeled as such? These guys aren't super desirable position coaches that they need to be handed out these titles. It's not like they're pulling dudes from Alabama's staff or they're pulling dudes from LSU staff or Ohio State staff, like some of these other moves that have happened. These are run-of-the-mill, mid-level coaches that are probably up-and-comers, but like is Sunseri and Bala so desirable that they were fighting to get them that they had to give them these titles? This is where plays into the confusion from me.
I don't know how to respond to that. I mean, because
there shouldn't be a way to respond to that because it's weird.
Look, man, titles become titles for a reason, for pay increases and how you structure and pay people. I think that you have to succumb to some deals in reference to if you want Robert Bala or you want Sunseri, however you want it, you can't just make lateral moves, right? And I'm not saying that Washington to Florida is a lateral move. I think it's an upgraded move. But there also comes a time where you have a line. Here's why I think it's interesting. Ron Roberts coaches linebackers. What's he going to be doing? Because, I mean, you're bringing in a whole staff where he can just be the elite, the head coach of defense. He's not a position coach at this point. So basically you're doing this to, in some aspects, taking something from offense to give it to defense to try to help. Because your head coach is, quite frankly, going to be your quarterback's coach. Let's call it what it is. I mean, you have 2 sides of the football. We have not seen this work like this specifically in modern history. Not like this. In reference to them offensively, though, I think that Billy, that's what all he really wants to worry about. I think this is to eliminate stress from Billy, who's a play caller.
All right, fair. That's fair.
I mean, that's the only – well, hold on. I'm not saying I believe that.
I know, but it's a fair way to frame it.
But there's no other way to realistically look at it. As high as I am on your running game, as high as I am on your quarterback, as high as I am of what you've done at receiver, they present a lot of problems. A lot of problems. I think you're just taking one coach that you would historically have and doing an analyst role. Or instead of a special teams guy, you're just putting the guy on defense, and you got to give him a title. I mean, there are teams that have 3 coordinators, OC, DC, special teams. The only difference here is they're just giving 3 of them the defense instead of just going for one or the traditional route. I don't know. Florida's an interesting case. I don't think that there's somebody that we're going to look at in the preseason and say they're going to be a bad team now. I don't think that
they'll be bad. Just the question, if they can win 9 games, that's going to be the whole talking point this offseason that you and I are going to have.
The way that they finished down the stretch and running the football with Ball and those dudes.
Yeah.
Listen, man. I mean,